Hi, we are doing 5.3 more factoring. Let me make sure that this is really going. Yep. All right. So 5.3, that's more on factoring trinomials. These ones we're going to do the AC method. You can't really do the shortcut method anymore because your A value will not be 1. So here we go. So we're going to factor trinomials by grouping when the coefficient of the second degree is not 1. So I was eating candy, my bad. And here we go. So you guys, we're going to factor 3x squared plus 8x plus 4. We're going to do this using something called the AC method. Now, I'm going to talk you through the AC method. The AC method is this. So you're going to take your A value. First of all, remember, ax squared plus bx plus c. Your A is the number in front of the x squared, your B is the number in front of the x, and your C is your constant. So your A on this problem is 3. Your C on this problem is 4. When you multiply 3 times 4, you get 12. So 12 is your targeted number. I need to find two numbers when multiplied together give you 12, but when added together give you 8. So how about 2 times 3? What was I thinking? 2 times 6, which is 12. 2 plus 6 is 8, and that's your middle term. So I found my two factors. My two factors are going to be 2 and 6. Now, when you use the AC method, you write down the first term, you write down the last term, and you put a crazy plus sign in the middle. Now, you're going to use your two factors that you come up with. You're going to use the variable that's in the middle term. And it does not matter which one you use, the 2 or the 6. I'm just going to write down 2x, and I'm going to write down 6x. Now, the 3x squared is the first term. The 4 is the last term. The two red numbers are the middle terms. Now, at this point, you're going to grab the first two terms. You're going to grab the last two terms. These two terms here share an x. So you get 3x plus 2. These two here share a 2. Now, at this point, you don't have to waste your time. Just copy what's inside here. Now, you do need to distribute so that you can make sure that that does really, 2 times 3x is 6x, 2 times 2 is 4. Now, if you notice, they both have a 3x plus 2. That means that they both share a 3x plus 2. So what you're going to get is, once you take out a 3x plus 2, you're left with x. Once you take out a 3x plus 2, you're left with a positive 2. And there you go. So now we just factored 3x squared plus 8x plus 4. Let's move to the next one. Now we have this one. We're going to do the same thing, the AC method. My A is 3, my C is 1. When I multiply them together, I get 3. 3 is the targeted number. I want to find two factors when multiplied together give you 3, but when added together give you negative 4. How about we use negative 3 times negative 1, which is 3. Negative 3 plus negative 1 is negative 4. Those are my two factors. Now, when you use the AC method, you always write down the first term. You write down the last term. You put a big crazy plus sign in the middle. Now, I don't care which term you use first. I'm going to go ahead and use the negative 3. Remember, the variable in the middle is p. So on this one here is going to be a negative 1p. Now, the two red numbers have to add up to the middle term, and they do. Negative 3p plus negative 1p is negative 4p. Now, I'm going to grab the first two together. I'm going to grab the last two together. Now, if you notice these ones here, they are 3p. So that ends up being p minus 1. Now, on this one here, they share a negative 1, and you get p minus 1. Now, you notice that they both share a p minus 1. And once I get rid of this, I get 3p. Once I get rid of this, I have a minus 1. You could check your answers by multiplying the two together, but you don't have to. Next one. So the next one, first of all, they don't share anything, so don't factor anything out. So we're going to do the same thing, the AC method. A is 12. C is -3. When you multiply them together, you get -36. That is your targeted number. Now, I wanted to do my timer so I know what's going on. And I'm going to scoot over this way. So, first of all, if I have I need two numbers. When multiplied together, give you -36, but when added together, give you -16. Now, I'm trying to think of some. Let's try -3 times -112. That gives you, that doesn't help me though. That doesn't even give me what I want, so that doesn't help me. I'm trying to think of numbers. 12 and -3 is -36. So let's try -2 times 18. -2 times 18 is -36. -2 plus 18 is 16. So that can't be it. Let's try another one. What about if we do 2 times -18? That gives you -36. 2 plus -18 gives you -16, and that's your middle term. So you found your two factors. Remember, when you always write down your first factor. You write down your last factor, and you put a big plus sign in the middle. Now, you're going to write down the first term, which is -18z. The other term is going to be 2z. Okay? Now, you group these two together. You group these two together. Remember, this is your first term. This is your last term. The two red terms added together give you -16z. So I end up with these two here share a 6z. All right. So that gives you 2z minus 3. These two here, they share a 1. And you don't even have to waste your time. Just copy what's inside the parenthesis, this parenthesis right here. Now, if you notice, both of these have a 2z minus 3. So we're going to factor that out. If I take out a 2z minus 3, that's gone, and I'm left with 6z. If I take out a 2z minus 3, I'm left with a positive 1. And you just factored it. And if you want to check your answers, just distribute. Okay? Let me see how much more I have to go. We have a lot, so we're going to have to cut this chapter in half, I think. This one here, again, you're going to see what they both share, and they don't share anything. So you're going to use the AC method. All righty? So I'm going to scoot this over for a second. I just want to make sure how many I have left to go. I might have to split this up, but it's okay. So I have the AC method. A is 8, C is -5. I know there's a t squared on the end, but don't worry about that at the moment. We'll take care of that later. So when I multiply the two together, I get -40. I need to find two numbers when multiplied together give you -40, but when added together give you -6. Well, those two numbers are going to be -10 times 4, which is -40. -10 plus 4 is -6. So we found our two factors. So first of all, I write down the first term. I write down the last term. Now remember, I write down exactly what it looks like. I put a big plus sign in the middle. Crazy looking plus sign. That's all I need you to do. Okay, doesn't have to be that crazy, but I'll change it up a little. All right, so a crazy plus sign in the middle. Now, I'm going to put the -10 first. Now, whatever the variables are for the middle term, you've got to use those. Don't forget. And then this is going to be 4RT. So whatever the terms, the middle terms variables are, you've got to use those. Now what you're going to do is you're going to grab these two together. You're going to grab these two together. These two here share a 2R. So you get 4R minus 5T. These two here share a T. And you get 4R minus 5T. Now these two here share a 4R minus 5T. And once again, when you factor that out, you're left with 2R. When you factor that out, you're left with a positive t. And that's it. Let's move on to the next one. Now this one here, same thing. It has a bunch of variables. Don't stress about it. But what I do want you to do is I want you to look to see if they share something. If you notice, they all three share a 3. They all three share a p squared. So I end up with 2p to the second plus 7p plus 3. Now, you have to work a little bit more this time. Now what you guys have to do is you got to take this and you have to factor that. I don't have to worry about the 3p squared anymore. That's kind of like already been factored out, but I do have to worry about what's in yellow. So what's in yellow is what I'm going to actually do the AC method with. So here we go. My A is 2. My C is 3. When you times them together, you get 6. That's your targeted number. I know that a positive 6 times a positive 1 is 6. I know that 6 plus 1 is 7. So I found my 2 factors. I write down the first term. I write down the last term. I put a big plus sign in the middle. So now I get a positive 6p and I get a positive 1p. Now what I do is I grab these two together. I grab these two together. These two both share a 2p, and I get p plus 3. These two here share a 1, and I get p plus 3. Now remember, they both share a p plus 3. When you do that, this disappears, and I'm left with, doesn't disappear, it goes to 1, and I'm left with 2p. Same thing here, I'm left with 1. Now you cannot forget about this up here. So I need to write that here, 3p squared. Basically, 3p squared times p plus 3 times 2p plus 1. You multiply all of them together, you start off with what you started with. All right, next one. This one here, same thing, bless you. I have 8, 14, and 3. They don't share anything. So I'm going to do the AC method. My A is 8. My C is 3. I get 24. I need to find two numbers when multiplied together give you 14. How about 12 times 2 is 24? 12 plus 2 is 14. So I found my two factors. So once again, you write down the first term, you write down the last term, you put a big plus sign in the middle. I don't care which term you write, I'm just going to write down the 12 first. And my variable is x, and then 2x here. Again, you grab the first two together, you grab the last two together. You look at the first parentheses, they both share a 4x. Now, I know this is going to be 2x because 4x times 2x is 8x squared. 4x times 3 is 12x. Now, I know these two only share a 1. Now, at this point, remember, you don't even have to worry about anything. Just copy what's in the middle of there. Now, you can always check your answer, though. 1 times 2x is 2x. 1 times 3 is 3. Now, what you do is you look at, see what they both share. They both share a 2x plus 3. Now, once this is gone, you're left with 4x. Once this is gone, you're left with 1. And you factored it. Keep on moving. The next one, we end up with, they don't share any numbers, any letters, nothing. So we're going to do AC method again. My A is 6, my C is 10. That gives you 60. You have to find two numbers when multiplied together that give you 60, but when added together give you 19. How about 15 times 4? 15 times 4 is 60. And I know that 15 plus 4 is 19. So those are my two factors. You write down the first term. You write down the last term. You put a big plus sign in the middle. I don't care which one you use. I'm going to use the 15 first, and that's P. This one here is going to be 4P. If you notice the two black terms, they add up together to give you 19P. You grab these two together, you grab these two together. These two only share a 3P, so that gives you 2P plus 5. These two share a 2, and that gives you a 2P plus 5. Now, these two both share a 2p plus 5, so you're going to factor that out. Now, when you factor this out, you're left with 3p. When you factor this out, you're left with a positive 2. We just factored it. We're going to move on. I'm going to try to get done with all of this in one unit or in one time period. All right, next one. These share nothing. So I have AC. My A is 10. My C is 12. That gives me 120. Now, 120 is my targeted number. Now, I have no clue. 2 times 60, that's too big. 40 times 30 is too big. To get a 3, I don't think it's doable, but I'm going to try. I'm going to use my handy-dandy calculator, and I'm going to just try to find some factors. 120 divided by 5. 24 plus, that doesn't work. Try 120 divided by 10 is 12. 12 plus, that's not going to work. 120 divided by, I don't think I can find any factors that work. And sometimes they're prime ones. So you know what? I'm just going to list them all out just because I don't know for sure. And I'm just going to try it. So I'm going to start with 2 times 60, 3 times 40, 4 times 30, 5 times 24. That still doesn't do it. 6 times 20. That doesn't do it either. 7 doesn't go into it. 8 times what? Hey, maybe 8. I'm just going to use a calculator. Divide it by 8. Ooh, it's 15. What is 15 plus 8? 23. Okay, I did not know that. I had to write them all out. I had no clue. So I'm going to use negative 8 times negative 15. When you multiply them together, you get 120. Negative 8 plus a negative 15 equals negative 23. You guys, I would have said this was prime because I didn't see it. So I had to list out all the factors. So remember, you write down the first term. You write down the last term. You put a plus sign in the middle. So I'm going to write down negative 8m, and I'm going to write down negative 15m. Remember, the two red numbers have to add up to give you the middle term. You're going to group these two together. You're going to group these two together. Always have a plus sign in the middle. These two here share a 2m, so that's going to give you 5m minus 4. These two here share a negative 3. That's going to give you a 5m minus 4. These two here now share a 5m minus 4 because they both have 1. Once I take out a 5m minus 4 here, I'm left with 2m. When I take out a 5m minus 4 here, I'm left with a negative 3. All right, let's keep going. This one here, once again, my AC method, they don't share anything. So it's just going to be 5 times negative 6, which gives you negative 30. That's your targeted number. I know that negative 15 times 2, actually a positive 15 times a negative 2 is a negative 30. Positive 15 plus a negative 2 is 13, and that's your middle term. So you're going to write down your first term. You're going to write down your last term. You're going to put a plus sign. Now, I don't care which one you write. I'm just going to put the 15p here, and I'm going to put the negative 2p here. You're going to grab the first two, grab the last two. They both share a 5p. That's going to give you p plus 3. This one over here, they share a negative 2. That's going to give you a p plus 3. Now they both share a p plus 3. Once you factor that out, you're left with 5p. Once you factor that out, you're left with negative 2. All done. We're almost finished, and we're doing good on time. Maybe not. Good heavens to Betsy. We have 3 more to go. Same thing here. They don't share anything. A times C. So we have 6 times negative 10, which gives you negative 60. I need 11. Again, I can't think of it. 2 times 30, 3 times 20, 4 times negative 15. Oh, there it goes. It would give it to me. So 4 times, a negative 4 times a positive 15 is a negative 60. Negative 4 plus 15 gives you 11. So we found our two factors. So we have the first term. We have the last term. We put a plus sign in the middle. I have a negative 4mn here, and we have a positive 15mn here. Remember, whatever your term is in the middle, that's what you use. These two here share a 2m. That's going to give you 3m minus 2n. These two here share a 5n, and that's going to give you 3m minus 2n. Now they both share a 3m minus 2n, and it leaves you with, that cancels out, this gives you 2m. This cancels out, and this gives you 5n, and you're done. All right, let's keep it going. Only a couple more to go. This one here, I can tell right now that they all share a 2. That's all they share, is a 2 and an x squared. So I'm going to take that out right now. So that's going to be 14x squared minus 29x minus 15. All right, they don't share anything else, right? No. Okay, so now I'm going to have to do the AC method, and I'm going to do the AC method just on what's yellow. So the AC method on this one is going to be 14 times a negative 15. Oh, that is going to be horrible. What is wrong with these people? I'm so sorry. All right, so 14 times 15 gives you a negative 210. So again, I don't know what it is, so I'm going to start with 4. I'm going to divide it by 4. No, that doesn't work. 210 divided by 5. 42 times 5, that's not going to work. 210 divided by 10. 21. Negative 21 times 10, that's too small. Or, you know what I mean, but 210 divided by 8. No, 210 divided by 6, 35. So how about a positive 6 times a negative 35 plus 6? Hey, it gives me 29. I did not know that. If it wasn't for my calculator, I would have no clue. So negative 35 times 6 is negative 210. Negative 35 plus 6 is negative 29. That's your middle term. So remember, we're only looking at what's in the yellow. So we write down the first term, we write down the last term, we put a plus sign in the middle. I'm going to write down a negative 35 x and then a 6x here. I'm going to grab these two together. I'm going to grab these two together. The first one, they share a 7x. That's going to be 2x minus 5. These two here share a 3. That's going to be 2x minus 5. Now both of them share a 2x minus 5. So I cancel that out, I get 7x. I cancel that out, I get a positive 3. What you cannot forget is what we took out in the original problem. So put that down and you factored them both completely out. All right, let's try to get the other one done before it gets too crazy. You guys, on this one here, we're going to factor out a 2 for sure, a 4, nope, just a 2, and they all share an x. So I'm going to take out an x, and that's all that they share. And I'm going to take a negative 1 out. So this is going to leave me with 12x squared minus 16xy minus 3y squared. So again, I only look at what's inside the parentheses, okay? So I'm going to go quickly because I don't want this video to be too long. So my AC method is 12 times negative 3, which gives you negative 36. I need two numbers when multiplied together that do that. And let's do 2 times a negative 18. That will give you negative 36. 2 plus a negative 18 gives you a negative 16. And there's my two numbers. I write down the first term, I write down the last term, exactly the way it looks. I put a plus sign. I'm going to go negative 18, use the same terms, which are xy. This is going to be a positive 2xy. I'm going to grab these two together, grab these two together. These two here share an 6x, so you get 2x minus 3y. These two here share only a y, and that gives you 2x minus 3y. So they both share a 2x minus 3y, and I'm left with 6x plus y. Don't forget, you took out a negative 2x. You got to add that to your problem. And you're done. We finished it, and now we can stop before the time is up. And you guys have a great day. I'll see you on the next